Logan from Reef here, and today we're going to go over how to set up your new Photon V2 Pro using our Reef Nexus app. The first thing you want to do is download the Reef Nexus app on the App Store or the Google Play Store. Once that's downloaded, open the app and set up your account. You should be brought to a blank page, something like this. Now you'll see I already have a couple of tanks set up, but I have a light with me here in the warehouse as well, and I'm going to go through setting that up with you today. So first thing you want to do is hit the plus arrow next to equipment, and then you're going to select Reef Breeders. Make sure that your light is plugged in and that the indicator LED is blinking blue, and of course make sure that your phone is connected to the internet. So once that's all set, hit ready, and then we're going to exit the app and we're going to head over to our Wi-Fi settings. Now you're going to see in your settings here, Reef Breeders light, and then there is a unique code for each light. Alright, now that we've connected, we're going to exit the app and head over to the Reef Nexus app. Alright. Now we're going to select our Wi-Fi network, make sure that it is a 2.4 gigahertz and not a 5 gigahertz network. Then we're going to enter the password. Alright, your light should be solid green now if it's connected to the network. Now we're going to name that video light. We're going to hit continue setup. Alright, so the first thing I like to do is test and make sure that all 6 channels are controllable. So we'll start with the violets. Cool blues, just kind of run through and make sure that the light's responding in real time to the app. Now sometimes you might notice that after initial setup, your light might start blinking purple on the indicator LED. That's okay, that just means that your light is going through an over-the-air update. You know, sometimes the firmware needs to be updated out of the box. Not every time, but sometimes that could happen. If that's the case, just give it about a minute, let it update, and then when it returns to solid green, then you should be good to go. So what we're going to go over today is actually automating your light and setting a schedule. So I'm just going to hit yes. Now there's a couple options here. First we have the daytime option, and then we have the 24-hour option. The main difference between these two is with the daytime option, you set a on and an off time as the first step. With the 24-hour option, it's a little more advanced. You have to set your on and off time, but it gives you a little bit more flexibility. So I'm going to start with the daytime here. So I'm just going to hit that, and then we're going to go next. So I'm going to start with, let's do the mixed reef preset. That way we have a little bit of a baseline to work with here. And I'm going to hit next. Alright, so I got sunrise at 9, sunset at 7 p.m. I think I'm going to go with a sunrise around 10 a.m. And I'd like the sunset to be at 9 p.m. Now this is flexible. I mean, you could do 13-hour days or even longer. I mean, it's totally possible. It tells you the length of the day, it tells you the on and off time. So let's say I want a nice 12-hour day. I'm just going to match these two bubbles up right here, and then I'm going to hit next. Now I'm going to choose my nighttime brightness. I'm not a huge fan of moonlights myself, but you know, sometimes I like them on kind of dim. So I'm going to go with 0.5% here. And then I like the moon phase feature that we offer. It actually has a full 28-day moon cycle built in, which is pretty cool, and it could have implications for coral spawning as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn that on, and then I'm going to hit next. And then you'll see that my cool blue channel, it's already all set for me since I picked the mixed reef settings. They're on at 60%. Now, since I have it coming on at about 10 in the morning, I think I'm going to adjust these just a little bit. I'd like it to ramp up for about an hour and a half. So I'm going to do 11:30 a.m. So light comes on at 10, and then it works up from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. to reach 60%. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to have this start ramping down at 8:30, and then final shut off will be 10 p.m. before the moonlights come on. All right, and then we have the red LEDs. I actually want to reduce those. I'm not a huge fan of the red, so I'm just going to turn them down to about 10% here. And I'm going to have those ramp up. I think I'm going to do that over 3 hours. So I'm going to have it ramp up from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and then ramp down from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'm going to do the same with the greens. So I'm just going to hit copy from another color. Then I'm going to choose deep red. I'm going to go next. Now I want my blue channels to follow my cool blue. So I'm going to do that. The white channel, I'm going to have it kind of follow the reds, but I'm going to have it go a bit stronger. So I'm going to have it take about 3 hours to ramp up, but I want to keep my white LEDs around 20%. So now that I copy that, I'm going to edit it. And let's say I want high noon settings as well. That's another thing that I could do. If I add another segment, I'm basically adding another point on this chart here. So I can hit add segment, and then I kind of adjust these. So let's say from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., I want it to peak the white LEDs at 40%, give me kind of a high noon look. So I'm going to do 6 p.m. and then up that to 40%. All right, and then you'll see I have a nice big peak in the middle of the day there. Now the violets, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to copy those over from the cool blue. And now that we've got all 6 channels set, just hit done and hit save new sun cycle. All right, now my light is activated. It's on schedule. Now I'm going to go over doing the 24-hour settings. It's a slight difference here. So we're going to go here. I'm going to hit settings. I'm going to hit remove schedule, and we're going to start from scratch. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to hit add schedule. Then I'm going to choose 24-hour. Now you'll notice you could still choose from presets here, but I'm going to go in totally blank and start with blank canvas for you, so you have kind of a rough idea of how this is actually set up. So I'm going to hit next, and now we have the cool blue channel. So what I like to do here, so the first segment always has to be, unless you want these lights to be on at night, you want to set the first segment to 0%. Now I want my on time to be around, let's say, same thing as last time. Let's do 10 in the morning. So since I want my lights to come on at 10, I'm going to hit 10 a.m. and set that to 0. Now the next segment, I'm going to set to noon. And I want my cool blues to ramp up to, let's do 40% for the purpose of this program. All right, so now you'll see kind of a weird shape. That's normal. You know, we haven't filled out the full spectrum here. You need at least 3 segments to do a full schedule. So I'm going to add a third segment. Now what I could do is have kind of a parabola shape, right? I could have it in a run from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and then at 10 p.m. have it shut off. So hit 0. Let's see, 10 o'clock p.m. 0%. So you'll see it starts at 10, ramps up to noon, and then shuts off at 10 p.m. And even if we want to put that in the middle of the day, so you get kind of that shape. So that's one option. Generally what I recommend though, I like to do at least 4 segments here. So we're going to have it ramp up from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. hit 40%, and then since we want it to shut off at 10 p.m., I'm going to have it ramp down for, let's just do an hour ramp down. We're going to hit 40%, and then 10 p.m., we're going to set to 0. So we have a nice square shape here. Simple on off, ramps up. So over the course of an hour, it starts at 0, ramps up to 40, levels out, and then starts at 40, ramps down to 0, and then shuts off. So now we got the red channel. Since I want them to turn on and shut off at the same time, I'm going to start by copying it. And of course I want the reds to be significantly lower. So I'm going to set those to 5%. Just find it's much easier to copy it, because that way you don't have to add all the segments manually. All right, and then we're going to go next. Greens, I'm just going to copy from the deep reds. Keep it simple. All right, it's the royal blue. I'm going to copy that from the cool blue for sure. White channel, I will copy from the deep red, except I'll bump it up to, let's say, 20% for now. And then you could add up to 14 segments. So you can make a pretty advanced schedule here. I'm really just showing, kind of the basics. All right, we'll set the violet channel, hit done, and save, and it ported over to the light. And one more thing that I'd like to show in this video, it's called the manual override feature. Now what that feature does is essentially allows you to tell your lights to do something for a predefined period of time. Right? So as a default we got 15 minutes, we got 60 minutes, but you could enter pretty much whatever value you want here. Let's say I have guests over. My lights normally shut off around 8 p.m., but I have a party from about 8 until 11. So around 8 p.m. I say, hey, I want to turn on the blues so that my sun period is extended a little bit and I can show off my corals to my guests. So I'm going to do 180 minutes, so 3 hours. I'm going to hit OK. And then I want my corals to really pop. So I'm going to do, let's say 50% on the blues and the violets here. And then the royal blues, I'll do another 50%. And then that is it. You could just leave it in the app. If you exit the app and come back to it, it'll still be counting down for you. And you could cancel it at any time. So if you wanted to just resume the schedule, you hit cancel, and then boom, you're back on track. Now another thing that I really like to do is when I add a new fish to the tank, I'll actually have it go on for about an hour. And I'll take all my channels and I'll just bring them down to about 1% here. And that way the tank is kind of dark, so your fish are a little bit sleepier, thinking that it's almost like bedtime. So you have a bit of a lower stress environment to add a new fish in. And I just like to let that run for an hour or two so that the new fish has a bit of an opportunity to find his home in your tank without having to compete with all the other fish, getting stunned by the bright lights, etc., etc. So that's just a couple of things that the manual override is super useful for. And again, if you forget about it, it'll actually time out and automatically resume your custom schedule. Another thing you could do is use it to turn your lights off. So let's say you're doing tank maintenance, you want to turn your lights off for a couple hours. It's no problem. You just set it to 0, and if you forget about it, your lights will resume their custom schedule. So that way you don't wonder the next day like, hey, why are my lights still off? Because it's already timed out and everything's taken care of. And that's pretty much it. I mean, those are the basics here. You got adding a segment. You get starting from a preset. The app is super intuitive and easy to use. Really a couple other features here would probably be creating a new group. So for example, I have a couple of groups already active here. So let's say you went and you set up another light already, and you want that light to be on the same tank. So let's say add to an existing group. So I've got the 220 freshwater display. That one, I don't want to have this light on there because it's a saltwater one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new group, and I'm going to connect it with my main display. And then I'm going to hit create new group, name the group. And now those two lights are grouped together. They should be running in concert right now. So you could test them, and then you could add a custom schedule just like you would for a single light, except now you're programming two lights together. And that is it. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for choosing Reef Breeders to power your tank.